All right, guys, welcome back to another fun-filled math lesson. We've covered the customary units of length, the customary units of capacity, and now we're looking at weight. If you're looking, there's not that much to weight as much as there were to the length and the capacity. So this one's a little bit easier, and we still follow the same patterns we used with the first two lessons we've done. So what's nice is if we're going from smaller to larger, we're still dividing. If we go from larger to smaller, we're gonna multiply. The good news here is we really only have 3 different measurements. Now you'll notice the smallest one is going to be ounces. We see the OZ again, just like we did with our capacity, but with our capacity, it was fluid ounces. So fluid ounces are used for liquid measurement. OZ, or ounces, is used for the weight of something. Next, for ounces, you would see it oftentimes when a baby's born, the weight is given in pounds and ounces. So the ounces is to help with the precision, or making it a little more precise on weight measurements. LB. I remember a couple years ago, one of my students using the terms, I lifted some LBs. LBs is just slang for pounds. And the reason for that slang is because the abbreviation is LB. LB stands for pounds. Pretty sure we all know what a pound is. All right, and then finally we have a capital T. So like I said earlier in the week, the lowercase is usually what we use when we're doing our abbreviations. However, when we get to ton, it actually is a capital T. And the reason why it's a capital T is because the lowercase t is used as a variable for time. You'll see it in some of your science lessons that you do later on in middle school and high school. Distance times time, I believe that's velocity. Velocity is equal to distance times time. So the formula would be like capital V equals D times 2, or T. So the big T is for tons, little t is for time. So make sure if you are doing an abbreviation for tons, it is a capital T. Now this is our measurements from smallest to largest. So if I go down this way, I know I'm dividing. If I go up, I'm going to be multiplying. Over here, my conversion chart, it's actually quite nice this time. There's only 3 measurements, or 2 jumps. I have 16 ounces is equivalent to 1 pound, and 2,000 pounds is equivalent to 1 ton. So if we were weighing something like a slice of cheese, we might want to use an ounce measurement. If we were measuring a human being, we want to use a pound measurement. And if we were weighing something like a blue whale or an elephant, something very, very large, a car, we would want to use tons. So once again, just a reminder, when we are doing these math problems, if we are going from a smaller measurement to a larger measurement, we want to divide. And if we are going from a larger measurement to a smaller measurement, we want to multiply. So once again, if we are going from ounces to tons, we want to divide. But if we're going tons to ounces, we want to multiply. Now we're going to go into 3 different examples. You're going to help me follow along. This is the part I miss about being in a classroom, because this is when we would work together. So we're going to start with 144 ounces is equal to how many pounds? So in this case, we are definitely going to be going smaller measurement to a larger measurement. Since we are going smaller to larger, we're going to go ahead and write that. Smaller to larger. I know when I go smaller to larger, I am dividing. So I'm going to make that note. So now what I'm going to do is actually bring down my 144, and I am going to divide it by how many ounces go into a pound. So in this case, I'm going to be dividing it by 16 because 16 ounces go into 1 pound. So 144 divided by 16. Now I know 144 divided by 12, very easy off the top of my head, is 12. Unfortunately, I don't know my 16 timetables. I never memorized those ones. So I'm gonna have to use long division here. So I'm gonna use actually a different color just so that we're not confused on the work I'm doing. So we're going to do 144 divided by 16. So the fun news here is 16 doesn't go into 14. So there's nothing I can put above the first 4. So then I have to go over to 144. I honestly, truly promise you, I don't know what 16 times 4 is. But if I was thinking about this logically, I know that 4 times 6 is going to give me an ending that ends in 4 because 6 times 4 is 24. However, if I'm thinking about that, I also know that 15 times 4 would be 60, and I would add 4, so it'd be 64. So that's not going to work for me because that's not going to be good. That's going to be way too low. So, but I do know if it's 64 and I double 64, which would be 8 times 16. 8 times 16 is going to give me 128 because 64 plus 64 is 128. But 128, I still feel like that's a little bit low. So I'm going to try 9. 9, and this might be wrong, guys. So this is definitely a guess and check thing. And that's part of math, right? We persevere. So 9 times 6 is going to be 54. Okay, I'm going to bring over my 5. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 5 is 14. Yay! So I divided, I got my 9. I multiplied, I got my 144. And now I'm going to subtract. 144 minus 144 is 0. So this is going to equal 9. So 16 divided by, 144 divided by 16 is going to be equal to 9. So my answer is going to be 9 pounds. Okay. So now we're going to go on to our next problem. And our next problem reads, 23 pounds equals how many ounces? So once again, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm trying to keep everything inside the picture. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at if my measurements are going smaller to larger or larger to smaller. So the pounds is going to be here in the middle. So it really depends on if I'm moving up or down. And I'm going to ounces. So I'm going from a larger measurement to a smaller measurement. So I'm going to put larger to smaller. So as you guys are working on your problems for the Google Forms or the math assignment I give you, the first thing I would do if I was writing down this problem is I would determine if I'm going larger to smaller or smaller to larger. That way I know which mathematical process I'm using. So in this case, larger to smaller, I'm multiplying. I'm going to make that a note too. Okay. And then I bring down my 23 pounds. I bring down my multiplication. And then I look at it again. I have 16 ounces in 1 pound. So I'm going to multiply these 23 pounds by 16 to figure out how many ounces I have. Once again, do not have my 16s memorized. I also do not have my 23s memorized. So this is a good old-fashioned time for me to practice my multiplication skills. So I'm going to use a different color once again, just so that I'm not confusing myself. I'm going to push this up just a little bit, guys. I'm going to have 23 times 16. And I'm going to use the standard algorithm. If you guys remember, another way you can do this is with the area model. So the area model, you would have 20 plus 3 times 10 plus 6. And then you multiply, you know what, it might just be easier to do this area model. I'm going to do that really quick, and then we can do the standard algorithm. We have 20 times 10, which is 200, because 2 times 1 is 2, and I have 2 zeros. 10 times 3 is going to be 30. 20 times 6, 2 times 6 is 12, and I have 1 0. And then 6 times 3 is 18. So then I would add those terms up. 200 plus 120 is going to be 320. 320 plus 30 is 350. And then 350 plus 18 will be 368. So I'm going to put 368 over here. So now let's see if we get the same answer when we do our standard algorithm. So we have 6 times 3 is 18. So we carry over our 1. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is going to be equal to 13. And then, if you guys remember, we are now multiplying by 10 because this 1 is in the tens place. So we add our 0 on that second level. We're on our second level, so second level gets a 0 to start with. So then we are looking at 1 times 3, which is 3. 1 times 2 is equal to 2. So now I'm going to add all this fun up. 8 plus 0 is equal to 8. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. And 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 368, 368. Our math checks out. So I know, as I am doing this math, that 23 pounds is going to be equivalent or equal to 368 ounces. So now we're going to do one more problem, and this is going to be a compare and contrast. Yesterday I showed both. I'm not going to show both today. I'm just going to choose one and move on from there. And honestly, with dividing, because I'm going to deal with pounds and ounces, so once again, I'm either going to multiply by 16 or divide by 16. I really am not thinking that 16 goes into 79 evenly. It's very possible it might, but I don't believe it's going to. So I'm just going to go ahead and determine that I'm going to transfer my pounds into ounces. And to do that, I need to multiply. So on to color number 3. So I'm going to take this, because I'm going pounds to ounces, that is larger to smaller, which is going to be multiplication. So then I bring down my 5 pounds, and I'm going to multiply by 16 because there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 16. 5 times 6 is 30. I then do 5 times 1, which is 5, but there's 3 that I had to carry over. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So it's going to be equal to 80. Now I can check really quick, and I know that 16 plus 80 is going to give me 96. And I also can do subtraction, which probably would have made more sense. 80 minus 16 is not going to be equal 79. So I know that I probably saved myself a little bit of work by just doing the multiplication. So I have, I'm going to push this up a little bit, guys. I have 80 ounces compared to 79 ounces. 79 is smaller. It only gets 1 dot. My 80 is larger, so it gets 2 dots, and then I connect the dots. 80 is going to be greater than 79. So that's pretty much going to wrap up our conversion units. Tomorrow we will work on multiple step word problems. Until then, I hope this helps. And if you need help, reach out to me. Bye, guys.